This morning, it's February 28th, 2020, and my name is Michael Conley. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of the North Reading Public Schools. And this morning, I was going to do a short presentation on where we're at in our FY21 preliminary budget process. We are moving through the budget development process, and we are due to present our FY21 preliminary budget to the school committee on Monday, March 2nd. So I thought I would just provide a brief overview today of some of the information that will be part of that presentation, um, and talk about next steps in the process at the end of the presentation. So we continue to see some of the same budget challenges on an ongoing basis. The governor's budget was released about a month ago, and North Reading state aid, both from Chapter 70 and unrestricted local government aid, was relatively flat. We did not see significant increases. Our local revenue and local receipts and so forth continue to be, somewhat flat. And our fixed costs, when we look at health insurance, county retirement, workers' compensation, those costs have been going up, certainly higher than many of our local receipts and our state aid and our tax revenue, which is, as we know, under Proposition 2.5 is sort of capped at 2.5%. So there continues to be just a structural challenge of funding a school and municipal budget, with fixed costs certainly rising and escalating at a higher cost than revenue coming in. As you know, the school department also has other revenue offsets with our federal and state grants, our revolving accounts for various user fees assessed for athletic and extracurricular programs, as well as tuition-based programs for full-day kindergarten and preschool. So those have been somewhat on the rise, but they were relatively limited on what we can take in on an ongoing basis. And then the state circuit breaker program, which helps offset special education out-of-district tuition expenses, and I'm happy to report that under the Student Opportunities Act, we could see a little bit of an increase there in circuit breaker next year as they're adding in transportation costs to that formula as well. So that is a good development, and we'll continue to watch that. And then our contractual obligations. What I mean by that is just our obligations to fund our cost of living adjustments for staff, both union and non-union staff. Those certainly are always a big part of the budget, and it certainly presents some structural challenges when we look at school funding a school budget. Then we kind of want to just briefly talk about some of our key priorities that continue to be that we're focusing on. What's in the best interests of educating the students in North Reading, both from elementary and at the secondary level. A main school committee goal has always been to continue to have optimum student-teacher ratio guidelines in class sizes, particularly at the elementary level, particularly in the primary grades. So that is an effort and a priority in this budget. I think you'll see that in a moment. Our strategic plan, known as NRPS 2021, next year would represent year 5 of that plan. So the initiatives and the positions to further education in both student support services, technology integration, expansion of STEM and foreign language curricular areas is all part of the plan and is a focus in development of FY21 budget. We continue to see some challenges of our buildings and grounds needs and operational costs to run our 4 school campuses, so that is a priority. And then just a commitment to fund both school and department operating budgets at an appropriate level. And we've been working to restore those budgets that were cut several years ago, and I think we're making good progress in doing that. But there's a focus in that area as well in the FY21 budget. And then we work with the finance planning team here in North Reading, made up of the chairs and vice chairs of all the major boards and committees, and we'll continue to collaborate closely with members of the finance planning team as we move through the budget process. So So what are our budget drivers here when we look to FY21? I mentioned a moment ago our contractual salary obligations. That is certainly a driver. Salaries represent about 83.6% of our total budget, and I think that is a pretty typical cost here when you look at what it takes to fund a school budget. And those certainly include, the cost of living adjustments for our staff, both professional and support staff. And in FY21, certainly to meet our contractual salary obligations, is certainly a big driver in our budget, just because salaries make up so much of a school budget, and that is pretty consistent trend across the state. You're going to look at school budgets, salaries are about certainly over 80%, and in North Reading, they make up 83% of the budget. Year 5 of NRPS 2021 is certainly a driver here. I'm going to get into some of these positions in a moment, but we are looking to fund several new positions in NRPS 2021 that would move the district forward. In particular, I think we're focusing on about three positions in NRPS 2021 next year that would certainly help the district meet its educational goals and initiatives. From an operational cost standpoint, these are certainly fixed costs to help fund our building maintenance needs. Our busing contract rates are going up slightly next year. Utilities go up, rates go up each year. Technology needs continue to evolve and change each year. So these are all operational costs that we need to adjust the budget lines for on an ongoing basis, and there's certainly a big part of the budget request and what our needs are. In terms of our special education costs, in North Reading, we actually are, at the moment, and this can change very quickly, looking at our out-of-district costs from a tuition and transportation perspective. We forecast to have less students being educated outside the district next year due to students either aging out of some out-of-district programs, some students coming back in district. We currently have about 32 students being educated outside the district. We are budgeting for about 27 students. So there is some savings on the out-of-district front for tuitions and transportation that's built in to the FY21 budget. And then just to continue to meet students being educated in district with certain needs of students' academic supports and applied behavioral analysis assistance, and to help students certainly being educated on the autism spectrum. There are some necessary contractual increases to appropriately educate the students in district, and we continue to analyze our in-district programs on an ongoing basis, and where appropriate, we reallocated current resources to provide additional student support services, in particular into areas to focus on increased support in the social and emotional area. And all of these programs are designed to assist with reducing the potential need for outside placements. And North Reading is pretty much at the state average in terms of what our special education student population is and the percent of students that are being educated sort of outside the district. We fall pretty closely to what the state trends have been. When we look at our preliminary budget, the numbers, you can kind of see what the ask and the request is compared to the FY20 budget. So we are looking at a request of a little over 4%, about 4.5% increase over the FY20 budget. Some of the drivers I just spoke to, you can see sort of at play here with the salaries going up about 5.1% over FY20. What's really driving that increase is both the contractual salary obligations, which is about a 2.5% need increase from the prior year, and then some of the new positions, both driven by enrollment as well as driven by a strategic plan. We're looking at a total of about 6.5 new positions is certainly factoring into that increase over FY20. Instructional expenses, our need to restore department budgets to an appropriate level, our goal and objective to fund technology initiatives and support our one-to-one program that we started in grade 7 through grade 12. So continue to focus on technology and instructional budgets is driving that increase. And then operationally, we are working very hard to control our operational costs, to control utilities, to control our energy management, heating and cooling systems, and keep these costs kind of modest increases. But there is an increase contractually due to both utilities and our wastewater treatment contract is going up and so forth. So we've had to make adjustments to line items accordingly. The next two areas we actually are going down from the prior year. What's driving that is the out-of-district numbers, and the number of students that we're projecting to go down is savings in the special education transportation area, and then savings in the out-of-district tuition area. So all of these are the major category changes, resulting in a budget request of about $33,199,530, which is a little more than $1.4 million increase over FY20. If you look at our FY21 budget and the numbers, this pie chart just kind of breaks down from a percentage basis. You can see that salaries, biggest piece of the pie at 83.6%. We're now looking at our operational needs and our maintenance needs. That's actually gone up higher than the out-of-district tuition need for next year. That's been kind of on the rise. And then our instructional expense been pretty consistent there, just under 4%. So these are pretty consistent breakdown from year to year. So what are we proposing in terms of our staffing positions for next year? Based on some enrollment-driven needs at the elementary school, we have a high kindergarten class size moving up to grade 1. So there's a need to fund a couple of grade 1 positions to meet that higher kindergarten enrollment moving on to grade 1 to, again, control class sizes in the school committee guideline of between 18 and 22 students. That is necessary to increase some classroom teachers in the primary grades. There's a lower kindergarten enrollment currently being projected, so there's a little bit of savings on the kindergarten level, but an increase at the grade 1 level, and then there's a projected increase in grade 5 as well at one of the elementary schools. So that all nets to about a 1.5 need. And again, it's all enrollment and driven. I think we're looking at about 20 or so new higher elementary enrollment between kindergarten through grade 5 and across the 3 grade levels, and the changes in the cohorts amongst the 3 schools. The numbers do get tricky, and sometimes it does result in a need to increase, as our main goal is to always keep class sizes optimal level, particularly at the elementary level. These next 4 positions are driven by our strategic plan. The middle school academic teachers, this was an initiative that began last year, which was a 2-year plan to expand the middle school's foreign language and STEM programs by introducing new course areas in the areas of Spanish and French, as well as to expand new course offerings in the STEM curricular area. So this would be a need to continue that program. It was a 2-year plan that began last year. The elementary teaching and learning coordinator has been a request for a number of years, has not been funded. We feel like this is a high priority as we look to FY21. This position would certainly help in professional development opportunities and aligning curricular opportunities across the elementary level, help enhance curriculum and professional development, as well as provide additional evaluation and support to the administrative team at the elementary level. So that's certainly been a need for a long time, and it's been in our strategic plan. It's been deferred for a number of years, and this position is the top kind of priority when we look at our curriculum leadership model going forward. The reading specialist position has been another strategic plan initiative at the elementary level that's falling short in being funded over the last number of years. We feel like this request is a high priority. It would certainly provide the academic support services needed at the elementary level to ensure all students in all grade levels are receiving the support needed. And it is certainly a high priority in our strategic plan. The custodian, we've came close to funding that a year ago. Unfortunately, it was not funded. We feel like we could achieve some operational efficiencies, achieve some savings in the overtime area, and also achieve some certainly initiative to certainly provide the appropriate cleaning when we look at across our campus, trying to meet the industry standards of kind of square footage to cleaning personnel. This position would allow us to achieve that. And they would really be the first person that would help respond to cover kind of sick calls and reduce overtime costs. And it is anticipated that at least half the cost of this position would be realized with the overtime savings by minimizing that sick time coverage need. So certainly a help operationally and building maintenance wise, allow us to meet our objectives there. So overall, it's about 6.5 FTE positions, a little over $483,000 increase. The NRPS need and request for that is $313,963, and that does represent an increase of 0.9% to of our 4.5% request. So we look at our budget summary. Overall, we're looking at a 4.5% request in the general fund, but as we know, there are other grants and revolving accounts outside of the general fund that are part of the school department budget. Those are our athletic revolving account, our transportation revolving account for the user fee being assessed for both athletics and transportation. There's an offset for extracurricular and performing arts for the user fee that's assessed for student clubs and activities and performing art programs at the middle school and the high school. And there's also the tuition-based programs for the preschool program and the full-day kindergarten program. Those help all work to help offset the budget. And then there's our federal and state grants for certainly areas in special education, our entitlement grants that all work to help fund and offset areas within the operating general fund budget. So the FY21 budget, it's a slight increase over FY20, mainly driven by estimates in the circuit breaker account, which is a special education reimbursement account, being higher. Certainly is the assumption that we will receive some additional funds through the Student Opportunities Act that was recently enacted, all help lead to an offset of a little over $3.2 million. So our request to the town appropriation is a little over $33 million, but when you look at all school funds, we're looking to fund a budget of a little over $36.4 million at $36,405,030. That still doesn't tell the full story because, as we know, we receive a variety of donations from private donors, from support groups, from booster groups, from athletic team parent groups, all totaling an annual average of $250,000. And then the 5 main school PTO and PTAs and parent organizations and associations all help fund many enrichment programs, many technology initiatives, many class field trips, all totaling at least another $75,000. So all of these items go in to make the educational experience in North Reading is what it is today. So the operating budget, you can see how we've been funded in the community over the last 12, 13 years here. The 10-year average is about 3.3%. And we are looking at a request of 4.5%, which is higher than over the last 5 years of what's been funded. But we really feel like there's a need to move some of our strategic plan initiatives forward and to meet our operational needs as well. So you can see how we compare to prior years here. And then what can you conclude from the FY21 budget? Well, the FY21 budget helps us meet our contractual obligations with employees and employee unions. It provides additional staffing to achieve sound student-teacher ratios at the elementary level by adding those classroom teachers. It advances the academic program at the secondary level with an emphasis on expanding foreign language and STEM. Those were the middle school positions. It adds administrative support to enhance the curriculum, professional development, and addresses need to provide additional support in the areas of supervision and evaluations. There's the elementary teaching and learning coordinator position, and then addresses the operational needs of all 5 schools with a focus on maximizing cleaning, maintenance, and energy consumption efficiencies. That would be the addition of the floater custodian, the changes to our expense budgets in the areas of buildings and maintenance to meet our needs. We've adjusted some lines in the instructional budget in our technology area to help the continuation of our one-to-one device program in grades 7 through 12. So there's a little bit of an investment in technology here. And we've also added operational costs to properly maintain all 5 schools and our surrounding campuses. So that's essentially what you can kind of sum up from our FY21 school budget. In terms of next steps, we are still looking at what our gap or where we're at with the finance planning team. Nothing's been certainly made official at this point. We have a budget webinar scheduled for March 27th, a school committee budget workshop on April 1st, a public hearing on April 13th, another school committee budget workshop if necessary on April 29th, a vote on May 4th. We present to the Finance Committee on May 6th, and then we go to town meeting on June 8th. So this is really the beginning of the process. We have certainly a lot more to do here to fund the school budget. But we look forward to the public meetings and the discussions and the conversations that will occur over the next several weeks. And I certainly remain hopeful that we'll continue to work with both school committee and town administration to fund a school budget that meets the needs, an educationally sound budget that meets the needs of both the district and certainly the students in North Reading. So with that, I appreciate your time today, and I hope many of you plan to join us in some of the upcoming meetings as we talk about the FY21 budget. Great, thank you for your time.